Act as if the crown was always yours, as if the world is not yours to take, but to bless. No soul outshines yours, no voice sings your song. Walk in grace, own your breath. You are the storm and the stillness. Child, remember, you've always been enough. There is a power that rises from within when a person believes in themselves not as a performance, not as something to prove, but as a holy recognition of their own breath. Self-belief is not decoration, it is foundation. It is the earth beneath your feet, the spine in your back, the quiet strength that hums through your name even when the world forgets how to pronounce it. To believe in yourself is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is to walk with the awareness that your existence is not an accident. You are not here as filler. You are not here to shrink. You are here to take up space with grace, to expand into every room as if you were meant to be there because you were. This belief is not loud, not boastful, but steady like the rhythm of a drum that has known time longer than the hands that play it. You don't need permission to believe in yourself. That permission was signed the day your spirit entered this world. You were born with the right to trust your own voice. And when the world tries to hush you, to confuse you, to make you doubt your reflection, self-belief becomes a sacred rebellion. It says, I still know who I am even when you don't see me clearly. There will be days when the wind won't blow in your favor, when shadows gather in the corners of your mind, when doubt sits on your chest and dares you to rise. But self-belief whispers through the storm, not with thunder, but with truth. It says, you have survived every moment that tried to undo you. It says, you are still here. And that in itself is sacred. Self-belief does not mean perfection. It does not demand that you always have the answers or never fall. It means knowing that even when you stumble, you are still worthy, that your value does not disappear in the face of failure. It means honoring your flaws as part of your design, not blemishes on your beauty. To believe in yourself is to hold yourself with the same tenderness you reserve for someone you love, because you should love you too. The world will often benefit from your insecurity. It will try to profit off your fear. It will tell you to wait, to be quieter, to be smaller, to apologize for the brightness of your being. But when you walk in self-belief, you disrupt that pattern. You become unshakable. You stop asking if you are enough and start knowing that you always were. And in that knowing, you become dangerous, not in violence, but in truth. Because a person who knows their worth cannot be manipulated. A person who believes in themselves cannot be silenced. There is nothing soft or weak about believing in yourself. It is the fiercest kind of strength. It is waking up each morning and choosing not to abandon yourself, even when the world has. It is looking in the mirror and not only seeing your features, but seeing your spirit. It is hearing your own heartbeat and remembering that it marches for you, it beats for you, and that is reason enough to rise. Even when your hands are trembling, even when your voice shakes, even when your past tries to call you back, belief in yourself is the act of choosing yourself over and over again. It is standing in your own name and not flinching. It is saying, I may not have everything figured out, but I will not forsake myself. Because when you abandon belief in yourself, you surrender the one thing that no one else can carry for you. Let others doubt if they must. Let them misunderstand your confidence, mislabel it as ego, misjudge your quiet certainty. That is not your burden. Your task is only to honor your own breath, to walk with your head high, not because you are better, but because you are enough. And to trust that everything sacred about you, your ideas, your joy, your resilience, your flaws, is worthy of being here, worthy of being seen, worthy of being heard. Self-belief is not about being better than anyone else. It's about not being less than yourself. It is about standing in your truth when the world tells you to sit down. It is about reclaiming your voice and calling it holy. It is about remembering that you are not broken, you are becoming. You are not lost, you are learning. You are not too much, you are just on time. There is a kind of presence that doesn't enter a room. It arrives. It doesn't apologize for existing. It doesn't beg for space. It breathes deeply. It stands tall, and it honors every inch of its being. That is what it means to carry an unapologetic presence. Not arrogance, not entitlement, but a deep-rooted knowing that you have a right to take up space simply because you are here. You do not need to dim your light to be loved. You do not need to shrink to be accepted. There is nothing noble in self-erasure, nothing holy in making yourself small for the comfort of others. The world has long taught you how to apologize for your voice, for your volume, for your brilliance. But you were not created to be silent. You were not born to be invisible. You were shaped from divine intention, carved from the echo of stars. Your presence is not an accident, it is an offering. To be unapologetic is not to be unkind. It is to be true. It is to show up as your full self without tucking pieces of your soul into your pockets. It is to walk into the world with your shoulders back, your head held high, and your spirit unclenched. To be unapologetic is to no longer ask, "Is it okay if I exist like this?" But to declare, "This is how I have come to be, and that is more than enough." There are those who will feel discomfort when you stop apologizing for your power. Let them. Their unease is not your responsibility. You were not born to soothe every storm in the room. You were born to calm your own. You were not made to make others comfortable at the cost of your wholeness. And if your truth causes disruption, then so be it. Growth often begins in the cracks. You do not need to explain your passion. You do not need to justify your joy. You do not need to tone down your laughter, your tears, your fire. You are allowed to walk boldly, to speak clearly, to live loudly. You are allowed to exist as you are. Messy, radiant, complex, sacred. There is no template for your presence. You are not here to be a duplicate. You are the original. Let that be enough. The world will offer you countless reasons to question yourself. It will hand you scripts and roles and masks and ask you to perform. But there is freedom in saying no more. There is power in saying, "I will not bend myself into pieces for your approval." The moment you decide to honor your full self is the moment your presence begins to speak even before you say a word. It announces, "I know who I am, and I will not apologize for her." Let your walk tell a story. Let your silence carry weight. Let your energy introduce you before your words arrive. That is presence. Not something loud or showy, but something undeniable, something felt, something remembered. An unapologetic presence is not about commanding attention. It is about commanding respect, starting with your own. And yes, you will be misunderstood. You will be labeled. You will be called difficult, intimidating, too much. But don't let them convince you that your truth is a problem to fix. It is a mirror. And when people are not ready to see themselves, they often try to break the mirror. Stand anyway, shine anyway, stay anyway. There is no apology necessary for your existence, not for your roots, not for your rise, not for your softness, not for your strength. You do not owe the world an explanation for why you are radiant. You do not owe anyone silence in exchange for comfort. You owe yourself the dignity of presence, full, free, and unfiltered. This is not performance. This is not rebellion. This is return, a return to the self you were before the world told you to hide, a return to the voice you softened to be liked, a return to the stance you once shrank to stay safe. You are allowed to come back home to yourself, to walk like every step is a declaration, to live like your being is a song. To exist without apology is not a luxury. It is your birthright. When you stand before the mirror, you are not just seeing your reflection. You are witnessing lineage, resilience, and divinity wrapped in skin. You are looking into the eyes of someone the world tried to forget but could not erase. The mirror holds royalty, and it does not lie. Even when the world refuses to name your worth, the mirror remembers. Even when your spirit is heavy and your shoulders are tired, the reflection speaks what you sometimes forget. You are noble. You are whole. You are already enough. Royalty is not in the gold or the gown, not in crowns or titles. It is in the way you rise each morning when everything tries to keep you down. It is in the grace with which you carry your pain, in the way you protect your peace, in how you still offer kindness when cruelty has tried to reshape your heart. Royalty is the way you keep choosing yourself in a world that demands your erasure. When you look in the mirror, you are not meant to search for flaws. You are not meant to criticize the curves, the skin, the scars. That mirror was not built to reflect shame. It was meant to remind you of your sacredness. Every inch of you tells a story of survival, of softness, of becoming. Your face is the map of a journey traveled by ancestors who carried dreams on their backs. Your eyes are lanterns. Your bones are altars. There is nothing ordinary about you. The world has taught you to look at yourself with suspicion, to believe you are lacking, to think beauty is measured by someone else's standard. But the mirror does not care about the world's metrics. It speaks only truth. And truth says you are already gold, even without polish. You are already art, even without frame. You are already light, even in your darkest hour. To see royalty in the mirror is not to elevate yourself above others. It is to recognize that you have always been worthy, that you do not need to earn your place at the table, that you do not need to prove, beg, or bargain for your own value. Royalty is not about dominion. It is about dignity. It is not about power over others. It is about power within yourself. A quiet, unwavering knowing that cannot be sold or stolen. There will be days when the reflection feels foreign, when you can barely meet your own eyes, when doubt settles on your shoulders like dust. But even then, the royalty remains. It is not something you put on. It is something you are. Your crown is not an accessory. It is your birthright, and it does not fall just because you do. It stays even when you weep. It stays even when you forget, because it is woven into the fabric of your being. You must reclaim the mirror from every voice that tried to distort it, from every lie that told you your skin, your shape, your voice, your way of being was not enough. You must look at your reflection and say, I see you, I honor you, I will not hide you. That is an act of resistance. That is an act of self-love. That is a ceremony, sacred and necessary. You are not here by mistake. You are not random. You are not replaceable. The mirror knows this. That is why it calls you by your true name, even when you whisper another. It sees you when you feel unseen. It holds space for your greatness when the world denies it. But it cannot force you to believe. That belief must come from within. You must decide that your reflection is not your enemy. It is your teacher, your witness, your home. The mirror does not wait for perfection. It does not ask for apology. It reflects royalty because that is what it sees. And royalty, in its truest form, is not about ruling others. It is about remembering your sacred place in the universe. It is about honoring the self, not in vanity, but in reverence. It is about walking in truth, clothed in grace, unbothered by comparison. So when you stand before the mirror, stand tall. Not because you are flawless, but because you are real, because you are worthy, because you are still here. Look into your own eyes and see not just what is, but what has always been. Power, purpose, poetry. The mirror holds royalty, and so do you. Grace is not quiet submission. It is not the soft bow of the head or the silent nod of agreement. Grace is strength that does not need to shout. It is presence without performance. It is confidence clothed in gentleness, a power so complete it moves without needing to prove. Grace wears confidence like sunlight wears the morning, naturally, effortlessly, without apology. When someone walks in grace, you feel them before you see them. Their energy enters the room not in dominance, but in calm, not with noise, but with certainty. They are not afraid of being seen, and they are not desperate to be noticed. There is a quiet knowing in their step, a rhythm in their breath that tells the world, I belong here. Not because someone said so, not because they earned it by ticking boxes, but because their existence alone is enough. Grace does not compare itself to others. It does not compete. It doesn't measure worth in accolades or applause. It does not shout down the insecure, nor does it shrink when others shine. Grace is not threatened by beauty. It recognizes it, celebrates it, and knows that someone else's light does not dim its own. True grace carries confidence as a birthright, not a badge. It does not seek approval, it honors truth. To walk in grace is to walk in your own name, to own your story, even the chapters others try to skim over. Grace is knowing what you've survived and wearing your healing like silk. It's the way your laughter sounds after pain, how your silence holds weight, how your hands still offer tenderness even after they've been burned. It's not fragile, it is forged. And that is why grace is so powerful. It carries the scars of battle and still speaks in love. Confidence without grace can turn hard, bitter, defensive, but when confidence is softened by grace, it becomes magnetic. It doesn't beg to be admired, it simply is, and people are drawn to it without knowing why. Grace speaks in eye contact, in the tilt of the chin, in the way you sit with yourself. It doesn't fight for space. It takes it fully and gently, as if to say, I do not need to conquer this room to belong in it. There is a kind of elegance in those who know who they are. They do not flex. They do not explain. They do not apologize for their brilliance, and they do not fear being misunderstood. Because their validation is internal, their roots go deep. They do not need to pull others down to feel tall. They do not need noise to feel strong. They are a force that flows, not fights. Grace knows when to speak and when to stay silent. It knows how to move without rushing, how to pause without fear. It does not rush healing, does not chase validation, does not seek revenge. It trusts timing, it trusts alignment, it trusts itself. And in that trust is where confidence is born, not the kind that needs constant reinforcement, but the kind that blooms even when no one is watching. In a world that tells you to be louder, sharper, quicker, grace says, be sure, be steady, be grounded. Your confidence does not have to wear heels and red lips, though it can. It does not have to speak in speeches or stand on stages, though it might. Sometimes confidence is a quiet decision you make at sunrise, that you will not betray yourself today, that you will move through the day with dignity, even if your heart is breaking, that you will not chase, not beg, not shrink. Grace honors boundaries. It does not overextend to be loved. It does not twist itself to fit the expectations of others. It doesn't need to prove kindness by self-abandonment. Confidence rooted in grace knows, I can say no and still be good. I can walk away and still be whole. I can rest and still be enough. It takes great courage to live like that, to choose softness in a world that confuses it for weakness. To move slowly when the world demands rush, to stand firm in your being when everything tells you to change. But those who carry grace with confidence shift the atmosphere. They don't just walk through the world, they elevate it. So wear your confidence like a quiet flame. Let it warm you from within. Let grace be the way you speak to yourself, the way you honor your path, the way you hold your head high even when no one is clapping. Let it be your armor and your offering, not because you need to be seen, but because you've already seen yourself, and that is more than enough. Comparison creeps in softly. It doesn't knock. It slips through the cracks in your spirit and whispers questions you never asked to hear. Why don't you look like her? Why haven't you achieved that yet? Why are you always behind? And before you realize it, your joy begins to sour, your peace begins to shake, and your soul starts to forget how sacred it really is. You were not born to be anyone else. You were not shaped from imitation or meant for replication. Your path is your own, and your timing is holy. But comparison will make you doubt all of that. It will blur your vision and make you believe that your worth is measured in someone else's mirror. It will tell you that you are lacking when you are actually just unfolding. It will convince you that you're late when, in truth, your season hasn't even begun yet. There is nothing more soul-wounding than forgetting your own name while trying to wear someone else's shoes. Comparison does not just steal joy, it robs you of your very essence. It makes you believe that your value is conditional, that your beauty is negotiable, that your journey is only worthy if it looks like another's. But the soul cannot thrive in mimicry. It cannot grow in the shadows of envy. The soul needs truth. The soul needs freedom. The soul needs room to bloom in its own soil. There will always be someone doing more, looking different, living louder, and if you chase after their image, you will lose your reflection. You will spend your days measuring yourself by metrics that were never meant for you. You will starve your spirit trying to feed an illusion, and illusions cannot love you back. You must remember, you are not in a race. You are not behind. You are not missing out. You are exactly where you need to be, even if it doesn't look impressive to the outside world. Some of the most important growth happens in the dark, away from applause. Roots don't shout. Flowers don't compete to bloom. The moon does not envy the sun. It shines in its own time, with its own light in its own sky. And so must you. Comparison builds cages, but you were born for wings. You were made to stretch into yourself fully, not squeeze into someone else's mold. You must learn to look at another person's glow and say, "Beautiful, but not mine." You must learn to celebrate others without questioning your own light, because someone else's beauty does not take from yours. Someone else's success does not diminish your path. Someone else's joy is not a threat. It is a reminder that joy is still possible. Let go of the lie that you are not enough. Let go of the belief that your pace is wrong. Let go of the noise that says you must always do more, be more, prove more. You are not a checklist. You are not a copy. You are a soul, vast, sacred, evolving, and your evolution cannot be rushed or compared. It must be honored. When you start to slip into the habit of comparison, come back to yourself. Place your hand on your heart and remember what it beats for. Look at your scars and honor what they've carried. Look at your journey and marvel at your becoming. You have come through storms that others will never see. You have learned lessons that cannot be measured in titles or timelines. You have built yourself again and again, quietly and bravely, and that is immeasurable. You deserve to love yourself in every season, not just when you're winning, not just when you're praised. You deserve to see yourself as worthy in your quiet moments, in your messy days, in your silent growth. That is where the soul breathes. That is where real confidence lives, not in competition, but in peace. The world will always show you what you're not, but your soul will always tell you who you are. Listen to that, trust that, stand in that. You are not less because someone else is more in the eyes of others. You are not behind because someone else got there first. Your time is coming. Your light is valid. Your path is yours, and it is sacred. There is room for you to be great in your own way, at your own pace, without needing to compare. There is room for all of us to shine, but your light won't burn brighter by dimming someone else's, and it won't last if you forget to tend to your own. Keep tending, keep blooming, keep being you, because nothing can steal your soul unless you hand it over, and you don't have to. Not today, not ever. Power is not always loud. It does not always arrive with thunder or demand a spotlight. Often, the truest power walks softly, speaks gently, and moves with a certainty that needs no permission. It does not shout to be heard, it simply is. Power, when it is real, does not announce itself. It is felt. It lingers in the room long after the voice is quiet. It echoes in the silence that follows a truth spoken without fear. It radiates from the stillness of someone who knows who they are and does not need to prove it. There is a kind of strength that does not flex its muscles. It does not compete. It does not hustle for worth. This power is not about dominating others. It is about mastering oneself. It lives in boundaries that do not waver, in self-respect that cannot be negotiated, in the steady gaze of a person who has made peace with their past and does not fear their future. That is a power no one can touch. When someone carries quiet power, you know it. They do not have to raise their voice. They do not need to argue. Their presence does the speaking. They have nothing to prove and nothing to chase. They move with intention. They listen more than they speak. And when they speak, it matters, because their words are rooted, not rushed. Their choices come from alignment, not fear. They have learned that control is not power. Surrender is. Clarity is. Peace is. The world has confused noise with impact, volume with truth, domination with leadership, but real power does not thrive in chaos. It does not seek to impress. It seeks to be. It knows that influence built on fear is fragile, that respect born of intimidation is temporary. Quiet power, on the other hand, cannot be taken because it does not come from others. It is cultivated within. You can see it in the one who walks away from drama, who doesn't explain every no, who knows how to hold space without needing to fill it. Power is the ability to pause, to respond instead of react, to stand still while the world spins and still know your ground. It is found in restraint, in grace, in the dignity of not needing to retaliate. It is in choosing peace even when you have every right to rage. It is knowing that you don't lose power by forgiving, you reclaim it. Quiet power is often forged in silence. It is born in the moments when no one is clapping. It grows in the solitude where healing happens, where self-trust is built brick by brick. It's not flashy, it's not instant, but it is unshakable. The person who has walked through fire and still chooses softness, they are powerful. The one who has been broken and still chooses love, they are mighty. Because their strength comes from endurance, not ego, from wisdom, not noise. Power that is certain does not seek to dominate. It lifts others. It creates room. It says, I know who I am, and I don't need you to be less for me to be more. It honors the worth in others because it does not feel threatened by it. That kind of power doesn't just lead, it transforms. There is nothing more powerful than knowing yourself and choosing to stand in that truth, even when no one validates it, even when you're misunderstood, even when you're underestimated, especially then. Power is not about controlling the room. It's about not losing yourself in it. It's about knowing when to speak and when to let silence say everything. It's about choosing presence over performance. You don't have to shout to matter. You don't have to strive to be powerful. You already are. Your calm is power. Your ability to stay grounded when everything around you sways, that is power. Your refusal to be shaped by the expectations of others, that is power. Your decision to keep showing up not with noise but with integrity, that is power. So let them wonder why you don't argue. Let them question your quiet. Let them guess your next move. You don't owe the world a performance. You owe yourself peace. Carry your power the way oceans carry their depth. Steady, silent, certain. Not everyone will understand it, but everyone will feel it. And so let these words be your mirror, your reminder, your return. You were not born to beg for space, to compete for light, or to shrink for comfort. You were born to walk in the fullness of yourself, with self-belief rooted deep, with presence unapologetic, with grace that wears confidence like a second skin. You were meant to look in the mirror and see royalty, to move through the world without apology, to hold your power quietly and certainly, never needing to prove what is already known within. Comparison may try to steal from you. Doubt may whisper, fear may linger, but nothing is greater than the truth of who you are when you stand in it fully. You do not need to be louder to be heard, or perfect to be worthy. You only need to be true. Be true to your voice. Be true to your name. Be true to your light. Because the moment you act as if you are the best, not above others, but in alignment with your own soul, the world will adjust. Not because you demanded it, but because you remembered who you are. And that remembering, that is where your power begins.